So, as we know, marketing has really changed for all of us, and there's so many things that we can be doing today. And one of the things that we'll do today is really talk about how those marketing has changed. And I'll ask you, I want to keep this as interactive as possible, and learn from each other. That's really what it's about. And I'd just like to, again, thank the Chamber and BIG for having this opportunity to come here and be here today. It really means a lot. For most of you, I'm not sure if you know, but I'm what you call a townie. I grew up here in Brookline. I grew up on Brook Street. I went to Lawrence School. I graduated from Brookline High. I went to Suffolk University and got a master's in public health at Boston University. I lived away from Brookline for a while, but wound up getting a home here in '81, and I've been here ever since. I raised 3 sons, and they all went to Brookline schools. My youngest actually had the opportunity to go to St. Sebastian's, but Brookline will always be my home. It's I was born here, raised here, and as my husband says, you're probably going to die here too. But I'm lucky enough to be able to travel, and I really like it. And I think I'm living my dream right now. I spent 25 years at Boston University working there, putting my kids through school, and when I had an opportunity to leave, I took it, and I've been building a business ever since, and it's no easy task for any of you out there, you know that. And right now, to be in a room and talking about things that I love and around with people in my community, I feel very blessed and happy, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I want to thank you, and especially to Debbie. Let me tell you a little about Constant Contact and why I'm what they call a local area expert. How many here use Constant Contact? Okay, great. So for those of you that don't know about it, or for those of you that are using it, I'd like to tell you a little bit about my my interaction with Constant Contact. I actually started using it as a client. I needed a business tool, and I wasn't really sure what to use, and so I evaluated several, and I came to the fact that I was going to use Constant Contact. And as many of you know, that you can use newsletters as announcements. How many have been using it for newsletters and announcements, right? Being able to connect it to your social media. And so you can also do offers. Has anybody used any of the offers or promotions that you can do through Facebook? So there's things that you can do with that. Yeah, I like that as well. And one of the things I did, and I will do at the end of this session, is I'll use the feedback and survey, because that gives me an opportunity to be able to survey you. And one of the things, I got some feedback saying, let's make it more interactive, which we're going to do tonight. So that's great. And the other thing that some of you may not be aware of, but it also has events and registration. In this case, Debbie has a system that she uses for events and registration, but for other organizations that I work with, we have the entire events and registration, from setting it up to being able to pay to registering people, from soup to nuts. And when you look at that, one of the reasons I chose this application is that it's one login, and it really makes it much easier for me to use it. But more importantly, one of the reasons why I became certified was I kept bumping up against other clients that were using it and weren't using it effectively. And I realized I need to know what the best practices are. And when the opportunity came that they started to certify people, that's when I decided to become a solutions provider. And now I'm master certified, and just recently was asked to join their New England team of experts, which gives me this opportunity to be here tonight and teach classes. And I can teach free classes, and I have the opportunity to go out and do training, which I didn't really have before, because I didn't have all those resources and training materials. I have over 50 classes that I can offer. So to me, it really became an opportunity that was good not only for me, but also for my clients. So that's pretty much all I'm going to say about Constant Contact for now. What I really want to do is I'm just going to go through these. We're going to talk just very briefly about what is marketing today and what does it mean to you, and then how engagement works. I really think that what I'm going to be presenting here tonight is a framework, and what I call it, or what Constant Contact called it too, is it's called engagement marketing, which is quite different than traditional marketing. And then what we're going to talk about is what are campaigns, and then what are we trying to drive when we use those campaigns. Then what we'll do is we're going to go through this marketing book, and hopefully one of you or two of you is going to come up, and we're going to try to go through it together. And what I'm seeing here is we have a series of business owners and consultants where we're going to help one another out, and how we're going to approach putting together a marketing campaign. And then just things that we think you need to know about marketing today and how you can be more effective as a small business marketer. And then if there's time for question and answers and stuff like that, we'll definitely do that as well. So let's start with what is marketing today, and what is it to you? Anybody want to kind of, how has it changed for you today? Anybody want to throw it out there? You're not going to make me do all the work, are you? Are you really? How has it changed for you?
Marketing is about sharing what you're doing with people who would be interested.
Okay, so marketing is sharing what people are doing with who are interested. And how is that different than 5 or 6 years ago, or even a decade ago? Why has that changed?
I couldn't tell you a decade ago. I was in high school.
Okay, now she said a decade ago she was in high school. She's rubbing it in, but surely somebody else could answer that. It's always been the same. How about for other people that have been in this business for a while? How has it changed for? Yep. Go ahead, Randy.
It used to be that it was pretty much a remote way to stay in touch with people. Remote in that you didn't necessarily have direct contact with them. But more and more I'm finding it's encompassing actually prospecting. So it has to do with almost direct contact with people.
So it's more direct and it's less remote is kind of what you're saying. And yes?
I mean, I think the idea is the same. It's just the execution.
So the ideas are pretty much the same, but the way you can execute them is pretty. Yeah, I mean, I think that you're absolutely right. In some cases, some people use different types of tools to be able to communicate and market. And what we have now is just many more tools that are out there. And the real question is, what are those tools, and what are the best tools to use today? And how does that make a difference, particularly with who your audience is? And so with that, let's talk about where we are today. And I'm just going to put them. So how many of you are using Facebook as a way of marketing your business? Okay. And what about LinkedIn? Now, are you using LinkedIn as your professional profile, or do you have a business page? So do you know the difference between a profile and a business page? Do you want to talk about that a little bit? And
I have a personal one, but I use my personal for business. We
Okay.
don't have specifically a business LinkedIn at this point.
The nice thing about having a LinkedIn business page is then you can have your employees join that business page. So what happens is when they see, just to give you an example, I have a son that's in his 30s and he works for a technology company, and when I ever talk to him about a company that I might be working with or considering, first thing he does is go to LinkedIn and wants to know, do they have a business page? How legitimate are they? So it's just another way of legitimizing your business, in particular if you have employees that you can add to it. It's just another way of showing that profile of that business. And what about Twitter? Do people have a Twitter presence, whether it be personal or professional? Yeah, not as much. So Twitter is something that might be a little bit new for people to do it for their business. And what about these three here, Pinterest, Instagram, or YouTube? Do you have, how about Pinterest? Are people using Pinterest as your, great for cupcakes. I bet you
Yeah,
have beautiful
so
cupcakes, yeah.
We're on Pinterest.
Yeah. It's funny because some people I've talked to, particularly artists, they're very leery of Pinterest because they feel that their designs or their ideas are going to be taken or shared. And I think that that's the new order. That's the new world. And it's better to be out there and have influence and have your name all over everything than shy away and not have people see it. And again, I can use my example of, because you're probably the same age as my son, is that, they're all doing it and sharing it that way, and they get more business. So it's kind of interesting. Instagram, right before I left, I put out 3 pictures on Instagram of sunsets in Costa Rica, saying I'm on my way to do this event, but my heart right now is still looking at those sunsets. So it's just ways of letting people know what I'm doing and kind of mix it with my business and both my personal. I have to be honest, I don't use YouTube a lot. I'm not sure why. I think that what we need to do is integrate, I think, video. Video is getting really big right now, but sometimes I feel like, what am I going to say? But my goal this year is to do a little bit more with video, maybe get video testimony. Maybe I can get someone after this to just do like a 1-minute clip about how much they love this event, and then I can put it up on my channel. Who knows? But these are really where people are today. And it's not necessarily more about me or about you as much as it is about our clients and where they are. So really, where you are today is not just about you, it's about where are your clients and do you know where they are, which is even more important. Now, what does this mean in terms of also email? And I want to talk a little bit about this because people say, how is email social media? Well, if you think about it, once you have somebody's email address, they don't really change their email. They may unsubscribe to you. But think about how email could be even more important than, say, Facebook. And I'll tell you why. I did a Facebook campaign once, and I thought I'm going to spend $100 and see how many likes I can get on my business page. And I did it for a week. I spent $100. I got 10 likes. So that makes it $10 a like. But if that person unlikes my business page, I kind of lost them in my thread. They're not going to see it anymore. But if I get them in my email, well, they can unsubscribe to me. And if I am very respectful of the email and not use it that much, maybe they'll begin to open up my emails. And then when they open my email, they'll be able to share it through their social media. So I guess what I'm saying here is that you can't put your eggs all in one basket. You have to really think about putting your eggs in each basket and then deciding where you want to grow those eggs, or maybe grow your plants. But email is definitely part of the social media strategy. Any questions to this point? Let's move on. So let's talk about, I want to give you a definition in the simplest terms of what marketing is. And one of the things over the course of the last couple of weeks, I got a lot of little flyers. When I came back from my vacation, I filled a bag this big with flyers from everywhere, from Kripalu to Kelleher to you name it. I must have had every house that sold in Brookline in the last 2 weeks. I mean, tons and tons of stuff. And I picked up a couple of them and I looked at them and I thought, I think I had one from the Goddard House because I think someone from the Goddard House was here last time. And I thought, now, when I pick this up and I read it, do they know? Do they know that I opened it? Do they know that I read it? Did they know that I actually went and I clicked or I went to someplace on there? No. But I wonder how much money they're spending on that. And the question is today what's going on is that with digital marketing, what we're doing is we're sending something out and we're asking them to elicit a response so we can measure it. So at its core, marketing is about eliciting a response and being able to measure it. And every time I see a flyer come into my house, I think how many of those flyers from that person that's sending it out do they know is actually even being opened? It's just a thought. It's just something that I think about. So that's really, to me, the definition of marketing is being able to measure what you're doing. Now, how many people are doing that now? Okay. Can you come up here again? Can I have her come up and chat with me for a little bit? Okay, come on up. I feel like I'm now like a host of a talk show. I actually feel like that Seinfeld episode. It's so nice of you to come. So, can you talk about what that means? A little bit with what I talked about. Can you give an example? And first of all, tell your name and where you're from.
Oh,
sorry.
I'm Sarah, and I work at Treat Cupcake Bar. We're in Chestnut Hill, and we're in Needham.
And they have really good. My grandson actually had a meltdown. He wanted more gummy bears, but it's a very sweet place. It's very
Thank
nice.
you.
Yeah.
Well, you had asked about measuring in terms of emails.
Exactly.
I love that I can see not only what percentage of people have opened my email.
Oh, maybe. I think, yeah.
Hello. I can see the percentage of people who have opened my emails. I can also click to see who has opened, and then I can see what they've clicked inside the email. So I could send an email that's about a special flavor we're having, but I have, a little button in there that says learn more about classes, and I know who's clicked that, and I know that I can tag them and send them emails about classes. So like things like that, we really learn a lot.
That's great. Good. All right, that's great. So basically, let's just reiterate that. So what are we looking for when we measure a response? did they click or download? Did they download the paper that she had on what those classes were for that week? Did they actually come into the store based on a coupon that she might have sent them? Is there ability to be able to schedule the session right online? Oh, that's a class on how to make cupcakes. I can schedule it right there. That's something that you can measure. And then if she had, for example, the store had a particular cause, she might be able to ask them, would you want to donate to that cause? Donating would be a measurable. And then again, what happens if they call to schedule a birthday party? These are all things that are measurable and that you can look at them and see how they're doing.
Well, birthday parties, I'm glad you mentioned, they're a huge thing because, you know, it's a big purchase every time, and we don't really want to, like, blast all of our followers with schedule a party, schedule a party, schedule a party. But if you've clicked interested in parties, then we can bug you a little bit more. We can send you a little bit more about why a party is special, or we can send you a post about scheduling a party or how to plan a party at your house, or we can really target it in a way that does get somebody to click to schedule the party.
So
Nice.
what I hear you saying is that not only do you have a one list that goes out to everybody that's ever gone into your store, but based on the way you engage with them, you can tag them and put them into and segment them in ways that you can even target to them better than you could prior.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that make sense
Really
for
nice.
people? Yeah. Okay. So here are two others. Stay here for a while if you don't mind. Yeah.
It
Of
makes
course.
sense, but are you going to talk about how that happens?
Yes. And if
Okay,
I
great.
don't, you have to hold me to it.
Yeah, because
Okay.
it sounds great,
awesome.
but how,
Yes.
how do you measure it? How does it happen?
Yes,
How-
yes,
you
and
know?
if it doesn't, if and I don't do it here, just, if it doesn't come up the way you want it, just let me know, and then I can talk to you more about that, for
Okay.
sure. So, here are two, so speaking of, eliciting that response, here are two things that when you send something out, there's the two buttons that you probably use, which is forward to a friend or share it. Those are buttons that you can use that again elicit a response, and they're opportunities for you to be able to do that. And any email marketing program, whether it be vertical response or constant contact, all of them have this ability where you can put embedded in the email that ability for people to share it on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. I think they also do Google Plus now, and to like it. So so it's not just an email that lands in your email.
That was the question.
It's the ability to be able to take that email, and right away I can tell right away if someone's using constant contact well by whether they have those little features in. And because it's a little dialogue box in kind of an obscure place, people miss it all the time. And it's so important because you have to be able to, that's the whole thing. You want to get it out of the inbox and onto social media. And so that's why it's important. Any questions? Okay, great. So let's talk about the engagement. And I think you talked a little bit about it, but let's talk about what it means. And I'm not really good with all these, so I'm going to put them all out. They get me crazy. So flipping the funnel. Back in the day, it was all about, getting people, finding them, converting them, keeping them. What I want to talk about is the engagement piece of it. And how you engage with them and keep them coming back over and over again. A lot of people, what they do is they focus on the new prospects, and what engagement marketing is talking about is focusing on those people that know you, respect you, like you, and want to buy from you. Those are your brand ambassadors. These are the people that have already bought from you. These are the people that you want to be able to, when they get that email, say, oh, I love that. I did a birthday party there. I'm sharing it on Facebook, and I have a picture of my son at the place. I'm going to put that in, and I'm going to send it off to my friends. Now, when I get that, if I'm a mom, I'm going to remember that as a place to maybe have that birthday. That's kind of what the engagement is about. And when I sent that, someone back at that store is going to say, wow, I remember that birthday. It was great. Thanks so much for sharing it. Make sure you come in next time. And you know what? We have a 10% coupon. Would love to have you come back. So that's kind of how that engagement goes. So when you think about the word of mouth, again, not to age ourselves, but back in the day, we would have a great dinner, we'd go home, we might call up our friends or our family on the telephone, or we'd go over across the fence and we'd say, oh, that nice place down the street, or that cupcake place, it's so great. Well, what's happened now is we have social media. And that social media is taking away the fence or the telephone, in the sense that it's expanding your brand and your reach a lot farther than just us having this conversation on one-on-one. Does that make sense? Seems pretty easy, right? So, would you agree that, where do you think that you get the majority of your customers today? Are they, would you say that they're repeats, or what would you say? Your current customers, when you're engaging, are you engaging mostly with your current customers? Are you going after new customers? How, would you agree that this is kind of how you're approaching marketing today? That you're really looking, that you're gauging 90% with your regular customers, and then you're trying to figure out ways to go and maybe get that 10%. Does that seem accurate? Would you agree? Would anybody disagree with that? No? So engagement marketing is about new business. 90% of it is word of mouth, all right? So how do you get those 10% to like really be talking about your business? Well, you get new prospects, but really you're focused on those current customers. So what do we need to do to get those 10%? Can you come up with some ideas? What would you think about doing?
Get the word out by going on, sending blasts, however you want to do it.
Sending emails, yeah. I've always found that the more specific you can be, like I've dealt with nonprofits that say, we'd like you to make a donation. That's great. Do you want $1? $10? Do you actually ask them how much you want from them? Instead of saying, I would like a donation. But so you have to be very, very specific in your asks, right? That you're not just asking for a donation, or you're not just asking for a new sale. You have to be specific about that. So engagement marketing, for me, and what I hope is for you, is focusing on that 90%, but at the same time, making sure that 90% is also helping you drive business with that 10%. And help, that it's really your brand ambassadors, and they're the ones that are helping drive new business to you. Does that make sense? Okay. So engagement marketing is really looking at the big pie and figuring out how that big pie is going to help you draw more business in. So how do we do that? So how many of you are bricks and mortar? You actually go into a physical store? Raise your hand. Okay. All right. So this can also be applied to your website. Other than your bricks and mortar and website, I'm trying to think of how else you would interact, but for me, a lot of it...
House calls.
House calls.
I'm an acupuncturist. I do house calls sometimes.
Wow. Very cool. We'll have to talk later. I have this pain.
I am happy to do that, yeah.
Great. So when I saw this model, it seems very simple, but at the same time, I'm not sure people think of it this way. But usually what happens is you go to the website, if you have a personalized website, or if you're doing anything with responsive ready website, you kind of know who's going to your website. You can serve up a page to them. Maybe it's asking them for something. Or it's going into the cupcake store, and it's a really beautiful environment, and I go in and there's beautiful cupcakes, and I have a great experience. Well, what do I do after that great experience? Well, one of the things, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure before you leave there, or before you leave my website, I'm going to ask you for your email address. And I might even entice you with something to get your email address, because you may not give it to me. Maybe if you give me your email address, I will send you a 10% coupon, so the next time you come into the store, you come by my website, I'll have something there for you that you can use, and you might be able to spend that 10%. Okay, so now I've come in, I've had a great experience, now you're enticing me to come back. So do I tell my friends about the experience? Do I engage? Once I do and I'm out there and I'm on Facebook talking about it, do I jump in as a store owner and start engaging with that and then maybe getting a few more people talking about? And then what happens? Well, what you've done is you've increased your social visibility. You're out there in ways that you wouldn't have been otherwise because this person went on Facebook or went out there and started to talk about you. And the next thing you know, you have new people going into your store, and that's kind of the cycle. So what it is that a lot of people, I'll ask, how many people are asking for email addresses? Great. And how many, okay, and I guess the question is to other people, why aren't you asking for email addresses? Anybody want to? Come on, don't be shy.
I think it also depends where, so I'm in the service industry, I'm in financial advice. So typically, and when I'm seeing this, my WOW experience is when I started a little ways back, it was people would come to my office. It was almost like going to the doctor's office. Nowadays with technology, most of my clients, everyone works all day. They don't want to come meet their financial guy at 7 o'clock at night. They want to spend time with their kids. It's the last, especially around tax season, it's
Yep.
the last thing they want to think about. So what we started doing a few years ago is Skyping or WebExing.
Very
And what
cool.
we found is, for example, during lunch, people can find a half an hour while they're eating to sit and do a more concentrated, focused meeting.
Uh-huh.
And for them, it's like, that's their WOW experience. And now taking advantage of technology, it's great. All right, you need to fill out you have a child and they want to sign up for a college education plan. Boom, I just sent you an email. Here's an electronic application. Just point and click, sign that way and send it back to me.
That's great.
So
So,
to answer your question,
Yep.
Getting emails that way does not work for me because I hopefully already have their email address.
Right.
But it's just, nobody likes to talk about finance.
right.
Except to basically bash their financial advisor or to say, look at the markets lately, it's all over the place. Where I know we've at least trained our clients to say, you know what, we don't focus on that stuff because our advisor tells us markets are going to go up and down. And,
Yep.
He reminds me all the time jokingly, if he could control that, we'd be in Costa Rica enjoying the sunset together. But what he also tells me is that, if I do have questions, I can get in touch with him and we can hop online for 5 minutes and just knowing that they're there like that.
So do you use testimonials? Do you ask any of your clients for testimonials? Because I would think on a Skype call, 30-second clip of, how did it go, and then something that you could put on either your Facebook feed or something. I know confidentiality is a big thing with finance, but there's certain things that I would think that, I've talked greatly about my tax accountant right after tax season and kind of, do a shout out and stuff. So I don't know if you can get people to do that, but
I would tell you that's where we probably fail, partly because we're in a world of compliance. So simple things like testimonials, you would think certain ways would be advantageous, but then it's always
it's tough.
your brothers saying
Yeah.
you can't say this,
Yeah.
they can't say this. Even on LinkedIn, the company that I work with basically,
Hijacked your LinkedIn account?
yeah, I can't even if clients tried to put a testimonial,
Yeah,
they
they
can't
can't.
do it.
Yeah.
It's like grayed out that.
But how do you get your new clients?
Basically word of mouth. It's,
Interesting, huh?
word of mouth and then trying to create a niche. So for us, our niche is, who wants to talk to your financial advisor at 7 o'clock at the end of a long day? And we try to train our clients to say, well, you don't have to.
Yeah, and I guess the other thing I would do is probably come up with, the only example I can give is IBM years ago, they didn't want to come off as salesy, so what they did is they took all their engineers and they had them blog on all their expertise. And what happened is by filling up the blogosphere with all this information, that as people went out there and organizations started to go out and look at things, or servers, what would happen is these people would keep coming up because they were the experts, So the only thing that I would say there is that if you can have a niche of expertise and that you're blogging about it all the time, or you're giving examples that have nothing to do with your clients, that's a way of just keeping yourself up there in terms of the search engines and stuff like that, because the more you're writing, the more you're blogging about your expertise and you're using your keywords, that's another way to, to get up there and and do it that way.
And I was gonna say, to answer your question, we kind of do it the opposite way with engaged marketing. We more use LinkedIn. So if I know I'm meeting with John Doe or Mary Smith, I'll go on LinkedIn and I'll find people that are their first and second degrees.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say, hey, you know, tell me about so-and-so. I happen to be on LinkedIn and I was looking at your LinkedIn profile and I saw this person. They seem a lot like you, and that's the type of person that I might want to get to know.
Okay.
And we've trained our clients. It's taken a little while,
Yeah,
but to say,
that's
oh
great.
yeah, I didn't think about that person. That would probably be a good fit.
Yep, that's great. All right, any other comments around that you have? Okay, so let's go on. Let's see. So here's something that I think one of the best things that's happened because of social media, and one of the things I like the most about it, and that I tell people lean in and don't push back, is that you now have an opportunity to be your authentic self, to really tell your story and what drives you, what's your passion, why you love the things that you do. That doesn't involve your clients in the sense that in terms of doing anything around confidentiality. You can really talk about the love of the work that you have, what it's meant to some of your clients, how you've had situations where they might have had problems, but you've created solutions for them that it's made it better. Here's an opportunity not to just sell, but really talk about who you are and why you do what you do. And I think this is the best time to do that in a way that you couldn't do it 5 years ago or even 10 years ago. And the other thing that I think is really exciting, particularly with the web and social media, is that you have the similar tools that big Fortune 500 companies have now. And you have the same type of a playing field as they do. And it's just really finding those tools and being able to leverage them in ways that really be able to show who you are. So with that said, you can just, if you all have we'll look at this in a little bit. You might want to go grab yours. I know I'll probably call on you again, but yeah, sure, go get yours. If I can pick on you, I will, sure. So, so I think I'm bringing this out a little earlier than I need to, but that's okay. So, anybody want to talk about what a campaign means to them? Like, what if they were to define a campaign? What is that? What is a campaign to you? I don't want to put you in the spot, but.
Sure. I mean, when I think of a campaign, and I'm not sure if this is exactly what you're asking, I think of a certain product that I want to sell more of, and then I back it up and I try to figure out, okay, well, like, who exactly is the client for it and how do I target them, and then I kind of am able to build my Instagram, my Facebook, my newsletters all around this said product, and that would be the campaign to me.
All right, so basically, I mean, that's good. I mean, I think you've said it, basically, is that what it does is that you're pushing something out, right? So here, I have this product, here it is. I'm pushing it out to my audience, and what we're doing is we want to pull back a response. The same thing that I talked about earlier. It's what is marketing? It's pushing something out and eliciting a response. That's what we're trying to do here. And so, what are the types of campaigns that you can do? Let's go through them and see how you feel about them, okay? So you have the newsletter campaigns, right? Everybody probably has done one newsletter, and hopefully in any newsletter you do, you have at least one call to action, whether that's forward this newsletter to a friend, share it with a colleague, or download this white paper. Because, why, if you're just sending things out and not asking them for something, well, you're not really marketing. So you can do special offers. So some of the local offers, I think, are going away in Constant Contact, but you can still do a Facebook offer. There's coupons. So again, this gives you ability, as soon as you send it out, someone will click on it, and you'll see that they clicked on that offer, and they might have even purchased it. Again, another one, a type of campaign would be an online survey. We just had a new type of cupcake, red velvet with chocolate frosting, and we want to know what you thought of it. Was it too rich? Was it too chocolatey? And then get it back. And if you do this poll or survey within 5 business days, you will receive a coupon to come in again. So that's another type of one. And then there's the events or updates, or if you're doing any type of an event, that's a type of campaign. You're saying, come to my event, here's the link, go register. Those are all eliciting a response. Okay, so there's more in here. So send an email, the share button. So the great thing here is that not only do you send it, but you can send it out and share it on social. You can let others share it via the social too, up in that corner like I showed you before. That's where you can do that. And somewhere at the bottom, I think there's a logo, and you have teaser articles and key actions above, and then you can put your own social links down at the bottom there. So these are all the different placements of what type of things that you can put in that newsletter. And I'm going to buzz through these, I think. Surveys and polls. You can push with the email. You can also put it on your website. You can brand it with your logo, which makes it look good. And always don't ask too many questions. And you really want to listen to the feedback. So some of the feedback we got from the last one was, it was a lot of material, but people were talking at us, can we have a little bit more engagement? So you want to be able to have that. Same thing, it pushes social. It keeps the details simple and clear. You can create a home page. You can make an RSVP page, and that's easy to find, click, and to register for it. I just want to buzz through that. And it can all be managed online. So let's talk about this. So in this booklet, this is one way of thinking about putting together a campaign. And we're going to try to actually walk through it. And really, if you think about it, what we're trying to do is we're trying to reach a group of customers that we may have. It could be a new group. It could be a group of donors. What are we trying to do? We're trying to drive some type of response, either business or a donation or a support or something. We're trying to drive or elicit something. Then once we do that, it's not like, bye-bye, thanks for coming, see you later. It's all about, thank you for coming. What can I do to help you? Is there any other things that in my repertoire of tools that you might find interesting? You want to continue, and you want to engage. And how do I mean engage? We're going to get into how much engagement is salesy. I would say 20% of what you're doing on social media should be sales. The rest of it should be you're entertaining, you're engaging, you're informing, you're imparting wisdom, that kind of. That's what you want to be doing. So, and what is this all doing? You're hopefully going to increase your brand, and by increasing your brand, you're going to be increasing your people interested in you, and eventually, hopefully, they're going to buy from you. So let's get more specific with what an objective is. So first of all, do we have a framework? It's important to keep in mind that at the core of this framework is eliciting a response. That's the core of this framework that I'm teaching you. So anything you do when you leave here, whether it's through email, whether it's through Facebook, whether it's through Instagram, are you asking something in return? Are you expecting to elicit a response? Or are you just going to post a picture saying, I'm at an event? Cool. You're communicating. But when you're marketing, you're measuring. There's a difference. Does everybody understand what that difference is? Okay. So what's an objective? So let's get a little bit more specific. The ones I said were pretty general. So what do we want to do? Maybe we want to drive, instead of donations, let's say maybe we want to drive revenue. Maybe do want to drive donations, who knows? Or maybe even more is that we want to fill seats for her Sunday tea party that she's having at the cupcake place, okay?
We are having a tea party.
When?
At the end of the month.
Oh, you have to.
At the end of next month.
You have to. I want to get on your invite. Now, see, I want to get on our mailing list.
It's already sold out.
Oh.
It's sold out in 2 days.
Can you sit?
We're doing.
Now she's doing something right.
So it's a free event.
Well, that might be the first thing.
Well,
Okay.
but it's mini cupcakes and tea, and
Oh.
if you come, you get a coupon for anything to buy while you're there.
What do you
And
need me for? I
Whenever
mean,
we have events, it always drives revenue.
see?
So our
Could you
focus
wait a
is
minute?
driving events.
Could you look into that camera and say that again?
Attendance drives revenue, even if it's a free event.
Okay, so then that's pretty cool, right? So that's really so if you're going to get that specific, how do you do that? Even get more specific. How many seats do you want to fill? And when you send that out, do you say, I have 25 seats, I've just filled 10, let's fill the rest, right? So, I mean, do you get that specific? The more specific you get, I think the more of a response you get. So let's fill those seats. Well, she already did it. Pretty good, huh?
But for classes, which are usually $75 each spot, it is harder to fill.
Yeah.
So we do have to usually send another email saying, 3 spots left, get yours quick.
Right.
And usually that'll elicit a purchase.
Yep,
Can
yep.
I just say, I'm
Sure.
not trying to be negative.
No, don't.
Sometimes when I see that kind of thing, I'm like, bullshit.
We really don't. Well, you can actually, when you go, you can see. Like we use Eventbrite, so we have it open, so you can really.
But
see.
you know,
But
like
some places, I
sometimes
guess,
you
are
just
saying
you
that.
get so much stuff,
Yeah.
and you know, sale ends now, and then you get the same thing the next day.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Like
just-
some of the bigger companies, like
Yeah.
if you're
I
online.
wonder if that has to do with trust, though. I mean, if you build a certain level of trust with your customers, maybe they trust you, maybe they don't trust another company. But sorry to jump in.
No,
This
no.
is just me. This
Yeah.
is not. No, this
Yeah.
is just you know.
I think what you're bringing up is the balance and the struggle that not only do we as small business owners deal with, but I think these big companies deal with all the time. I mean, there's such a thing as information overload, too much email, too much you like something on Facebook and the next thing you know, everything about whether it be a yoga or whether it be, candy, chocolate. So it does get overwhelming, and I think that's why we have more of a reason to really be strategic about what we're doing, and also looking at our lists all the time and culling them and putting them into different buckets so we're not overwhelming people and getting honestly, I sent something out today, and when I went back in and looked, I said, I had 3 people that were from my main group, like the state of Maine. They shouldn't have been in this list.
Can I add one thing?
Sure.
I don't know if this is helpful at all, but like for example, when we have just like a main general email that includes classes, I might send it to my whole list. But then if I send like there's 3 spots left, there's no way I would send that to my whole list. I would only send it to people who've either taken a class or clicked that they were interested in classes. And I think sometimes, that can be a good way to do it so that you're not bombarding people and leading to unsubscribes.
Yeah,
I think
that's
the one
great.
that is the most kind of offensive to me is maybe this has no relevance, but you call a restaurant, for a reservation, they say we don't have any, and then you go and the place is half empty. And that just is
Yeah.
annoying. And
Yeah.
it's a little different,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
And that's kind of risky.
that happens all the
Yeah.
time.
yeah. It's not good. So let's go back to just qualifying what a good objective is, okay? So when you think about an objective, I used to talk about the SMART objective, with, I think if I can remember, is it simple, measurable, attainable, SMART, attainable, timely, measurable? This isn't those, though. So the first one is, will achieving this objective help my business grow? I wish I had that question about 3 years ago. Have you ever gotten yourself into something and you feel like you're on this wheel and this wheel's not taking you anywhere, but for some reason you feel, I'm going to commit to it, and then you realize, wait a minute, is it helping me grow my business? No. Stop it. So that's something you have to think about. As I send out this email or this campaign, how's it going to help me grow my business? Is this objective attainable? Can I get 25 people to come to this event, or can I see if 10% of my core, who I think are my brand ambassadors, are they going to open this email? Are they going to click that download? So is it attainable? Can I actually make that happen? And how will I measure it? Again, going back to these flyers I get. So they spent, I don't know how much money they spend on those flyers. Thousands? Anybody do a flyer? Could you share? I couldn't do that. Could you just tell me, are you spending thousands of dollars on those flyers?
It depends whether you're doing like everyday direct marketing or if you're paying for lists. It'll range between like 13 cents to like even 60 cents per postcard if you're buying like the list, because buying lists is very expensive.
Yeah, so now you're buying a list and you probably don't know anyone on it, okay? So think of all the people that have come into your store, come to your website, that you've never asked them for your email, but you've had some interaction with them. But you're going to start with a list of people that you don't know. And then not only do you not know them, but they're going to send out a list in the mail, and you're going to not even know if anybody looked at it. So I guess you have to think about, do you want to spend your money and not know whether you're measuring? You can't measure that. It's like,
There's a little bit of measuring.
Is there?
You
Tell me, where?
If you're able to put something on the card that's redeemable, so like they have to put the card in.
That's
What
great.
you can also do is have they have to give you the card and they have to have put their email on it, or like a way for you.
Now
to
that's,
contact
now see,
them.
that I would think at least that's something. I haven't,
We've bought lists very rarely, but once in a while, we'll buy a list and we'll say, we really only want this card to go to women who are between this age in this neighborhood.
Uh-huh.
So sometimes we'll buy lists for that reason.
And do you find that when you buy them that you do cull a percentage off of them, or are you able to do that?
What do you mean?
No. Well, say like of that list, you know who came in from it, and know how many you got.
Well, because when you're buying the list, the postcards are actually going to have their name on it.
Great.
So you know exactly who came in out of that list. So we don't buy it very often because it is very expensive to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
It's like almost 50 cents per person
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah. Anybody else do those lists? Buy lists? No? You're growing your own organically. So one of the things that I'd like you guys to maybe just take a couple of minutes is to write down 1 or 2 goals and objectives. Right? So just take a couple of minutes, and there must be a campaign or something that you've been thinking about wanting to do, and just write a couple of goals and objectives, and then we'll ask, are they? And anybody that might want to raise their hand and share what they are. So is there anybody here that came with the idea that when they left here, they really wanted to have a campaign or wanted to have something that they'd be able to implement when they leave here? We're gonna switch places. She's coming up now. Thank you very, very much. Do you want to just say who you are? And
I'm Julia. I'm here on behalf of 2 businesses. One is Kolba Fine Judaica, which I've worked with for like 7 years.
And I
the other
got
one
most of my
is-
bar mitzvah presents there. I just want you to
It's a
know.
great place for that. And
Yeah.
second, I'm just starting to open up my own acupuncture business after working as an employee for a long time. So I'd like to work on my acupuncture business.
I'm not going to argue with you. I mean, this is your time, and we'll work on whatever one you want to. I'm thankful that you came up here. So maybe we can help her as we go along. So can you share a goal and objective that that you have? That
Sure. I've got 2 right now. I'm just at the beginning stage, and because of patient confidentiality and non-compete clauses, I have essentially 1 client so far. I would like to reach new customers, and as my goal, my objective is to get 30 new clients. Another goal is to get an email list, and my objective is to get 500 emails.
okay. So why don't we start with your first one, your
Okay.
first objective, which was
Reach new customers, and I realize that's the 1% that we were talking about
Right.
instead of the 99.
in it's vague.
Yeah.
It's vague. So what type of a customer? Let's get more specific
Okay.
on your customer.
I'd like customers who are interested in doing self-healing, they're willing to do work and self-care at home, who want to come in about every week or every other week
Okay.
for a regular treatment.
And would you
Who
say?
can walk up and down stairs, ideally, because I work out of my home on the 3rd floor.
So they can't have any aches and pains.
I do house calls. I
No,
do
I'm
house
kidding.
calls.
Ooh,
but
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So could you put that into a more succinct statement of what your ideal audience or what that ideal client is?
I am looking for able-bodied clients who are committed to self-care.
No, that was a lot different than
Yeah.
how you began it.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have something
I
you can
would
help her
say-
with?
I would think that the fact that you go to people's homes might differentiate you from most people who do acupuncture.
That makes sense. The reason a lot of people who don't do acupuncture don't do home visits is it's really hard on the body to set up the table, to carry everything. The ergonomics are tough, whereas
Yeah.
if you're in your own place, you can make sure that it's comfortable and it doesn't wreck your body.
Skip that idea.
Yeah.
I do it, but I don't advertise it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, and what was your second? And you had another one in there too.
Get
So,
an email list
and so be more specific on.
of prospective clients.
And so, how would you help her do that? How do you think? Now that's very challenging, given that she doesn't have a physical location, right? So, any ideas of how we can help her do that?
I go to a chiropractor, and I got to the chiropractor through a Groupon, which was a tremendous loss leader for them, but I can see it brings in dozens of people every week for them. So if you want to offer something like that.
I have a new patient special running right now where if you come in a bunch all at once, I give a good offer. I should probably get that up.
Yep. Did you have?
I was gonna say, maybe networking with a chiropractor or other medical professionals that ultimately you could create a center of influence and referral
I've got someone I'm working with right now who's a personal organizer.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And what about trade shows or any type of,
I haven't done that yet.
yeah, or sometimes they have health fairs,
Yeah.
and even in Brookline and stuff? And do you do any advertising, local advertising?
Not yet. Again, I
Okay.
just started.
Okay.
But not yet. No.
Okay, so going back to the one with the first one we're talking about, your client. So you have a specific client that's able-bodied. We want to look and make sure that do you think that, and you wanted to do it by how, no, you had some other stuff in there, like how many clients you wanted.
I would like 30 new clients.
By when? In how long a period?
2 months.
So do you think that's attainable?
It'd be awesome if it was.
That's fair.
That seems really big.
It seems very aggressive,
Yeah.
particularly if you don't have a list.
Okay.
Okay, so let's help her and tell her what would be reasonable, do you think, in 2 months of how many clients that she could get? Come on, let's be fair to her.
15.
15.
Well, you can get 30 clients, it's just, do you want to make money?
That's fair.
That's true. And how many hours can you really spend focusing on just this?
Because you give away your services for free, you'll get 30 clients.
Yeah.
Might not be the right client.
I'm doing some of that right now. I'm reaching out to some people. Treating some people for free who I know will be, or doing trades with them who I know will be influential in certain communities.
Well, one of the things that I would say on that is that you might want to be very specific, particularly around any of those people that you're seeing now. Get their email address. You ask them to follow you on whatever channels you on. You maybe ask them, would they be willing to do a testimonial? If they do a testimonial or do something on Yelp, or if you have a professional association where people kind of look for people, any type of testimonials they'll do, maybe you can give them, a discount,
No, that makes sense.
okay? Anything else we can help her with? Yep, Debbie?
A lot of people in this, well, not a lot, there are some people in this room who have certainly taken advantage of the chamber newsletter. So chamber members can advertise any kind of promotions or announcements that they might have in our newsletter. We're happy to help you spread the word. And if you're not a member, if your acupuncture business isn't a member of the chamber, what you can do is on your way out, grab one of our chamber booklets, or go to our website and find businesses that are similar to the kind of businesses where they might be referring people to you, and just ask if they want to meet, if they'd be willing to meet you for coffee, because a lot of times people are really receptive to people who are starting new businesses, and they might be happy to help you.
So staying with that, now that you've come up with that objective, your goal is to get 15 able-bodied, what did she say, able-bodied individuals
Committed to self-care.
committed to self-practice. Let's turn the page and see if you can come up with the number one, what type of a campaign offer or the content. Certainly you could do a welcome new customer, right, or client member offer, or type of campaign where you could specifically offer them. Or in that same venue, if you did wind up meeting a couple of different types of practitioners, maybe you have like an informational event where you could send people to, you could share those lists with each other. And so let's say you stuck with just the welcome new customers and you wound up getting 15 new emails. We can share emails even in here. What would be the first thing that you would like to offer them?
Right now, an email course.
You're going to offer them an email
I'm gonna
course?
that's part of my plan on how to get emails, is to offer a free email course if you give me your email on, lower back pain or.
So
like
what will
that.
happen, so
Monitor
I
email.
give you my email address and like within 24, 48 hours,
You I'd ask you for what are some main concerns you have with your health,
uh-huh,
and I'd have that survey, and then I'd give you, right now I'm working on an auto-drip email campaign for acupressure points you can do for lower back pain.
okay,
For back pain in general.
okay,
And I would have a series of courses, so you could give me your email and sign up for those classes.
okay. So then, what pictures could you share that would tell your story? So now the third, so now she's kind of come up with the welcome type of type of campaign. She's going to offer some type of a content, or downloadable content, information. Your ideas are maybe to send pictures of, I don't know, people in happy back pain or something, right? You put something together. Anybody want to help her on what channels she may want to use to do this type of a campaign?
Well, if you have a specific issue that you're trying to cure or condition such as addiction, maybe you're going to go to AA meetings and just talk and offer a free session for anybody there, or people with I don't know, Whole Foods, you offer something that will help with digestion.
And so I could see you doing an email or having a Facebook, some Facebook postings that will kind of talk about, even if you take a particular area, sticking with the low back, just asking some questions about, if you're suffering from low back pain, here are some tips, so you can begin to start talking about different things that you can do or give them. That would be, I think, something. And again, one of the things that I highly recommend, I haven't really talked about it here, is that I alluded to, I think, in the newsletter, is that you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. You want to separate you want to share in the baskets, but ultimately you're doing two things. You're either driving them back to your website or you're driving them back to your bricks and mortar. That's really what you want to do. Is that some people say, well, why do I need a website? You own that website. That website's yours, that's your assets. It's a very important thing. You don't own any of your social media. You don't own them. Facebook owns them, Twitter owns them, Google owns them. They can be taken down and taken away at any time. So if you put all your eggs in Facebook and you have like 10,000, which I know people have 10,000, believe it, I would love 10,000 likes. But they're knowing now the way Facebook will, if you know it, they're changing their algorithm, they're changing their rules all the time. Because when it started, they weren't even talking about monetization. It wasn't anything that was ever going to be monetized. So over the course of time, they've changed these rules, and when that person sends out a post, those 10,000 people are no longer seeing that post. She's got to pay for that to be seen. So everything changes. So all I'm saying is, these are little hooks, and they're hooks, and you're drawing people back, and you need to either draw them back to a website where you give them more information, or you draw them back to your bricks and mortar. Yes?
I was just gonna say, you know so much about what you do. You're an expert in your field. I know like so little about what you do. If you had a blog and I was Googling that topic and you kept coming up and answering my questions, I'd be inclined to want to give you a call.
I've started to work a little bit on the idea that was mentioned last time of the guy who ran a pool company who did 100 different questions, and I've started working on the 100 different questions.
Great. That's great. So then, we know that you send an email, that you'll probably use Facebook, and that you want to direct them to your website, and that whether it's on your website, in your email, on your Facebook, you're always asking them for email addresses. So wherever people go, one of the calls to action would be join my mailing list so I can give you more information about how you can live pain-free or healthy. Okay. So then, yes.
The main goal, though, is to get people to come to you as an acupuncturist
Yes.
so that they pay you, giving all this stuff away.
Well, remember, the stuff you can give away, but when she touches you, that's different, right? So I think that acupuncture is such a again, it's very personal, and you can't give that away. You can't give acupuncture away, but any knowledge. I mean, I'm a firm believer. I mean, you might not feel the same way, but I say give it away, and because it's going to come back to you. I mean, I don't mean like give away the cupcakes and give away your needles or give away, but I'm just saying that the more knowledgeable you are, and the more you can get in front of people, there's a chance that she's going to get clients. You're going to get clients.
I've done a lot of acupuncture work in the past, and I was well liked by my
Yeah.
clients. I just can't take them with me.
Yeah, I know how that is. Some of them you probably wouldn't want to anyway, so don't worry about it.
No, they were lovely.
No, I'm kidding. So now, what would be a subject line for her in this campaign she's doing? Let's get down to some nitty gritty. Anybody want to come up with a subject line or give her some ideas of what a subject line might be that she would want to put in there?
You have back pain?
There's a 2-2-2 principle. You have 2 seconds to catch their attention. You have 2 words that make the first 2 words count. That's all your audience will read before making a decision to read any further. And subject line should answer the question, why does this email matter?
Alleviate pain.
Alleviate pain. Live about. I think you could say alleviate pain. The other thing is you want to focus on people that are committed to a healthy life. So you could maybe say, are you committed to a healthy life, or find ways of or pearls of creating a.
The first 2 words aren't working.
Yes, that's right. So come up. So create a healthy life. It's hard.
It is, yeah.
It's hard. Yes, yes, yes.
I think it's very simple. It's back hurts, I'll help.
I like it. I like that one.
See?
That's great.
What another one?
I was just at a trade show, and the guy who had the booth next to me did nothing but pass out a free book that he wrote, an 80-page booklet. He's a contractor, but the book was, don't hire a contractor until you read this book.
Mm-hmm.
And he just, all he did was, want a free book, want a free book, want a free book. He never said, and the whole booklet, you read the whole booklet, his information isn't until the last page. Everything else going up there is just all of the qualifications and scams, et cetera, that you need for, that are involved with contracting. And of course, only he could satisfy all those conditions. But I thought it was great. Don't hire a contractor.
That's great. Okay, so, and then when should she send, and so when do you think, sample of subject lines, $5 free to be naughty or nice. Now we're showing the ones that are interesting. Low cost, and that's like high cost value, low cost B2B marketing services provider. Bunnies are evil. Now I might read that one. And so and then the next couple are just, which days would you send it? Those of you that use Constant Contact, you see that it gives you, based on industry standards, what's the best time to send yours, you know, is it in the morning, in the afternoon? And I think that's important. And to alternate, I sometimes tell my clients, if you have a big enough list, you can do them at different times and then see which one has the better open rate. So instead of sending all hundreds, split them up and then send them at different times. And then once you get a sense of what your better open rate is, then you can send them all at that time. And yeah, it even says that here. So what else should we put in here? What else? Do you have any other questions as you go? Is this a?
Yeah, this was helpful. I think I've got some
Is it
stuff
helpful?
to start working on.
Anybody else? No? So should we move on? Do we have any other questions about this? Was this helpful for people? Yeah? Okay, so let's
You know, I want to
Yes.
say for people who are, I'm a writer and an editor, so I'm really wary of things like the first 2 words, you know, have got to reach people, or you know, and because I think for years and years we've been hearing people don't read, people don't read. Look at how much content is now on a website. So much more. So that line about people don't read, well, maybe I'm not hearing it as much anymore. I mean, now the way websites are constructed without even initially clicking, you're just scrolling. And you are scrolling through an awful lot of material.
Yeah.
And guess what? People are reading blogs, right? So people are reading. So those things about those kinds of people don't read, people don't read, people don't want to read content, I've always just been wary of them. And maybe they're too much kind of a rule of thumb rather than something that's substantial and real.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't easy. I mean, if it was easy,
Yeah.
we probably would all be home, right? It's something that we all struggle with, and some of us are better at it than others. And for most of us, we have our hands, our fingers in all these dikes, and Hopefully we can find someone that comes and helps us out, but it's another thing on our list to do. And speaking of things, let's go through some of these things. Just like, I hope that this was not overwhelming for you and that you felt that this is something that you can do. There are tools out there, and Constant Contact is certainly one of them, where you log in and these tools are all there for you in one place, which makes it a lot easier than having to go to 5 or 6 different applications. So the first thing that I want to say is this is doable. This is not something that is daunting. Would you agree? I mean, I don't know, do you, in terms of the tools that you've been using?
Most days I would agree.
Yeah, most days. Okay, that's fair.
We have a lot going on.
Yeah, that's fair. I agree with that sometimes too. So, and start where you are, okay? I used to teach classes at BU where we'd get students that would come in and there was all this computer around, and they'd always be looking at what the other person was doing. Like, do I know as much as the other person? That's not what it's about. It's about where you are right at this moment. And people next to you may know a little bit more than you do, but you got to meet yourself where you are right at this moment and start there, opposed to saying, I don't have enough knowledge, I can't do it. You got to start somewhere.
Thank you for saying that.
Okay, you're welcome. Yeah, because it's daunting. It is. You got to start where you are. And the other thing I think it's really important is it's important to know what you know, and it's really important to know what you don't know. And that's something that I had to learn. When I left my job, I had a half dozen incredibly technical IT people that all I had to do was go, and they would be there. And I went from that to nothing. And I learned very quickly when I really knew, and when I didn't know, I went and found someone that knew it. And if I had to pay them, I paid them, because otherwise I would have been spending hours of my own time doing it. And that's just something that I learned very quickly. So when you meet them where they are, what does that mean? Well, are they on email? Are they on Facebook? Do you want to, do they go to your website? Where are they? And if you keep looking, they could be just about anywhere. And the question really becomes, and one of the examples that I give sometimes is social media is very much like that octopus, and the head of the octopus is your website, and all their legs are the social media channels. And sometimes you go out and you set up all these channels, and then you kind of see what happens. And like an octopus, a leg can get cut. It can get cut off. You can cut off your social. It does. It gets cut off and it goes away. It's really okay. And what happens is they don't use that, and you may not have to be on every channel, but you won't know that until you start engaging. And there are tools that are out there, and what I say, the other example I give is, the analogy is much like a gardener. Do you want to garden or do you want to farm? Well, if you garden, you have a whole set of tools that are different than farming. So that there are tools out there that you can be a great gardener, you can be a great farmer. It just depends, where you are and what you want to do. And there's tools out there that you go to one platform and you can click and go to and post to any one of those social media sites. You don't have to go to each one of them to do that. These are all time-saving tools that are out there. So you got to first figure out where are you and where do I start. And that's, I think, the first thing. And then once you do, you just work from there. So what are the steps? Get your contact list together. Very, very important. Your friends, your family, all of them. Just get them together, and you can put them in buckets, or you can send out one list, and then you can tag them as they kind of come in. But, yes?
Finish your thought now.
Okay, thank you. So that, to me, even if it's 5 people, one of my clients is Frank from a Brick Wall Kitchen. He started and he had nothing. He came to me last April and he said, I don't have a contact list. I said, well, you're going to start a contact list. How are you going to start? You're going to put a sign in your window. You're going to put a sign by your register. And every person that comes into that store, you're going to ask them for the email. Oh, I can't do that. You can't? Give me one good reason. I just can't. No, you have to give me a reason. I don't have time. I said, of course you have time. Look at you, right? You're talking to me right now. You have to do it. He didn't want to do it. He didn't want to do it. Well, just putting that sign up, he's up to 125 people. I know people that I've been working with for 2 years that don't have 125 people. And all he did was put a sign up, and every once in a while he'd say, well, if you really like the lunch, maybe you want to join my mailing list. Oh, I'd love to join your mailing list. And now I watch them come in, and he's got views coming in off his Facebook. Every once a couple of months, he's got 3 or 4 new clients coming in. So it's working for him. He's feeding it, he's tending to it, and it's happening. And so now he has a list. Soon he'll be able to cut that list up and segment it out by people that love coming to his monthly dinners, people that love his catering, people that are his breakfast people, and then he can start advertising based on breakfast or based on catering. So it starts with just getting people, and then send it one monthly email campaign a month, whether it's a newsletter, whether you're doing an event to show the beautiful honey and peaches and all that delicious stuff, this gentleman over here, you know, send something out and let people know that they can come and try it. Once you send them that email, what will happen is, if you fill in your social, when I get that email, I can share it with my friends and say, oh, I just found out this great organic place where I can get the honey and I can do all this stuff, and I send it out, and I have a pretty big following in Brookline. The next thing you know, they're calling you up asking you for your honey. You know, that's really how it works. You want to be consistent. Maybe you start with beautiful pictures. Maybe it's a video on the honeybees. Maybe it's a video on what brought you to the type of business as to why you're in the realty business and you love to sell homes. Maybe it's pictures of those homes. Maybe you do an FAQ and you say, don't buy another house until you talk to me, right? Or what are the pitfalls of buying houses? The other thing is that you want to go out and see who's following you, who's sharing your stuff, who's reposting that. Those are your brand ambassadors. I can't tell you how many people I share, I like, I do this, and I never hear from them. I never get, every once in a while I'll get, oh, thank you for following me. Or it's really nice that you shared that. And anytime anybody goes to does anything, I'm there within 24 hours. Thank you, is there anything I can do? Oh, if you thought that was funny, look at this. Because otherwise, you're just not out there for them. You know, when somebody's post, you need to respond. Grow that list. I can't tell you, how can you grow that list? Make sure the Join My Mailing List is on your website, because that's where you're drawing people. That should be one of your first calls to action. Join My Mailing List. You want to also make sure that you have that Join My Mailing List in your email signature. So anytime you send an email, it's very easy for somebody to be able to join that mailing list. You want to set up a Join My Mailing List sign, whether that be if you have a bricks and mortar, or if you go to a show, or you go to an event, you can just have it right there, and it just says, Join My Mailing List to receive recipes on cakes, or to receive what's our latest events that are going on. Get them on Facebook. If you have people coming in through Facebook, make sure you're using the Join My Mailing List. So whether they're coming to your website, whether they're going to your Facebook page, you have that ability to grab that mailing, because once you have their email, unless they change or unsubscribe to you, you have them. And unless you're not harassing them and you're just mailing them monthly, they're probably going to let you go, particularly if you give them something that they like. The other day I was with friends, and I always think, oh, I shouldn't send some stuff to my friends. And what we did, and he's like, oh, I read everything you send me, I read. Like, really? I mean, I see you open it, but, you know, I everything. I said, well, could you start clicking a few of them, because I noticed that you're not clicking enough of the things. So create that paper form, so you have it somewhere where you can just say, oh, would you like to join my mailing list, and they can do it. But one, which is great, is how many people have set up, that are using Constant Contact, have set up text to join. So great.
Text treat to
It's-
22828.
Say it again.
Text treat to 22828, and you'll join our mailing list.
See, that's all. And how many, and people say, oh, everybody has a phone. Even grandmas have phones. I'm a grandma, I even have it. So everybody can text. All right, and just ask. I can't tell you, I've actually talked to marketing experts that tell me, oh, I never ask for email. Really? Then how do you market to them? If you're not getting email lists, addresses from people, how are you engaging with them? How are you connecting with them? How are you communicating, marketing? And start somewhere, even if it's just with friends and family. You just start somewhere. That's all I can say. And automate wherever you can. I'm big on automation. So if you can set up welcome emails and updates. In your case, if somebody goes to your mailing list and they basically join it, there's an automated email that says thanks for joining, and then you can continue to have automation. So automating emails is very important, because it prevents you from having to go in and do that yourself. And wherever you can pre-schedule emails, where you can go in, I do this with my clients a lot. We meet on a monthly basis. They tell me what they want to do. I wind up doing it, scheduling it for them, and their job is to anything that comes back, they wind up responding. I do all the initial And then whatever comes back, they're responsible for making sure that they reply, they resend, they do all that good stuff. And let's see, create a series of autoresponders. Anytime that you can do autoresponding, that is really, really good because people get it right away and they like that. And use a scheduling tool for social engagement. I'm a Hootsuite partner. There's a lot out there. There's Buffer, Hootsuite. I highly recommend, particularly, not for all of it. I like doing native stuff a lot. I like going in and checking my LinkedIn, checking my Twitter. But when I have events like this, like when I go home this week, it's all about setting it up for the next event. And I'll have it go off, I'll do it like 3 times a week. Sometimes I'll do it a little bit more, but I got to keep it out there in people's mind. It was somebody that just signed up for it tonight. So you're always going to be using it and scheduling those. Again, I use Hootsuite, Marketer. Okay, make sure you listen and respond. Definitely. It's so important. I don't know how many people that, if you're not going to be responding, don't do it. Okay?
Can I say something about Hootsuite?
Yes.
I don't use Hootsuite for everything, but we have a lot of accounts, and I think what some people don't realize you can use Hootsuite for is you can set up streams where you can view like multiple Facebook accounts, multiple Twitter, multiple Instagram, all in one page, so that as opposed to me logging in and out of all these different applications, which takes a lot of time,
Yeah.
I can literally just open a page and log in. I can see all the accounts. I can see if anybody has tagged us, has reached out to us, and I can get back to people much quicker. It saves me time and it gets back to the customer.
Hootsuite has to be one
So
of the
much
most
faster.
powerful dashboards I've
Yeah.
ever been into.
I don't like all their resharing tools. Maybe I'm doing it wrong, but
No,
I love that.
There's a lot of things I don't like about it because it's almost too overwhelming, but you could literally live out of your Hootsuite if you set it up in a way, because all the applications you use, whether it's Google Drive, Google Gmail, all of them can be embedded in there. So when you open it up, you could just work out of that dashboard. I don't.
We even have
but-
streams that are like hashtag Needham, hashtag Wellesley, all on the same page, and I can easily everything that's following certain hashtags so quickly and reshare, and I see what's happening in town just so
That's
much
great.
fast. I mean, we only started Hootsuite maybe 3 or 4 months ago, and
It's great.
I love it.
So I highly recommend if you're doing that, and repurpose everything. And what I mean by that is the other thing that I love about Hootsuite is that you can put keywords in. So what I do is my keywords are digital media, social media, constant contact, or email marketing. What it does is it goes out and it finds anything that's talked about with those keywords. It brings it back to me. I go in once a week and I look at it and I find the articles that I like, and then I just post them and I repurpose. And I do a lot of that, and I get a lot of response from those, and I get a lot of followers from those. Just interesting, funny things, because it's not all about selling, so you have to have stuff out there. So how people know me is through I do stuff on yoga, I do stuff on travel, all different types of things. On Sunday, I try to send my favorite 3 articles in the New York Times, just to be out there so people has an idea of what I'm kind of interested in. So repurposing is very good. And if you notice, depending on what your this is all about the boys club and girls club, but again, they're out there repurposing that kind of stuff. And let's see. Oh, and don't forget about mobile. Mobile, we never even talked about mobile and how important mobile is, and making sure that you have mobile ready templates and that your website is mobile ready or at least responsive ready. All those things are so very important today. That's part of your brand. 50% of people that are reading their email on a mobile device. So you don't want it where it's really looking a mess. You want to make sure that it's sharp, it's crisp, and it looks really good. And for that, less is more. The more you put in, the more harder it's going to read. And you only want to do what they call a 1 column, because that way it will all come out in 1 column. Multiple columns doesn't really stack it all that well. And let's see, if you're not measuring, you're not marketing. If that was the one takeaway from tonight's session, is if you're not measuring, you are not marketing. That is the takeaway. And how you can do that again is, we talked about this, how many people have opened my email, how many people have clicked any of my social media, have they gone in and downloaded my content, have they shared it? All those things are important, because those people that have opened it are people that I'm going to be calling or maybe emailing again based upon what they responded to. So that's really important. just going through this. These are just all different metrics. So small business marketing isn't just about looking good, okay? Although it's nice, and but it's really, it's about nurturing relationships, it's delivering on your promises, and it's getting measurable results. That's really the essence of what small business is. Would you agree? Yeah. And again, so Q&A, I'm open for questions if you have any. For those of you that are using Constant Contact now, if you are using email and not Email Plus, if you upgrade or sign up, I give a 1-hour complimentary session to help you get started. And for tonight, there's two things that are going on there. One, they're offering an exclusive webinar, and for customers, if you want to do a mobile-ready template, there's a price of $79, which is regular. I can't see it. I'm sorry. I should know. Or maybe it's in my notes, but I think it's on $199 or $99. So that's all. I think that's it. And again, it's easy if you want to sign up for my newsletter. You can do that by texting "It Pays to Be Social" to 22828. And if you're not a Constant Contact user and you're thinking about it, you can text a trial by texting Doreen1 to, 99000. And that's it. Any questions? Oh, come on. Don't be shy. Yes. Or comments, I should say. Thank you.
One way of thought of repurposing is repurposing your content. So that, let's say, initially it may have been a press release that then turns into a Facebook notice, which then gets whittled down even more to 40 characters.
Yeah, Twitter post or something.
But what struck me when I'm sitting here is like that if it's the same, that the same words might appear, I might tend to use because that's what I'm trying to save energy and time. So I might use the same catchphrase like that. But now it's just struck me that I might lose people along the way because they've already read that line on Facebook, and if they see it on Twitter.
Well, here's the thing, and I think I must have it. I was doing the presentation that I'm going to do, and I noticed the slide wasn't in it. They're saying that on Twitter now you should be tweeting 5 times a day. Okay? Doesn't necessarily have to be 5 times the same stuff, but what's happening is there's so much going on in the feeds that just because you sent it out, not everybody is going to see it. That doesn't necessarily answer your question. When I use Hootsuite, what I'll do is I'll decide what channels, and I might have the same material, but I may rephrase it a little bit differently with each channel. So it may be, the content may be the same, but the way I introduce it may be a little bit different, depending on the channel.
You can do all that through Hootsuite.
You can do that all through Hootsuite in a little window. Yeah. Other comments? Or the next one is, and I don't have it, it's April. Do you have it? I should have it.
The
And-
flyers are out in the front. Anybody wants to
Yeah,
pick up the
so
flyer?
if you please sign up. The next one is going to be all on metrics and measuring and really talking about, how we can, yes,
Wednesday, April 27th.
yeah, April 27th. So please.
Measuring your marketing.
Measuring your marketing. And so I have to really work on that one, meaning the presentation. Yeah.
With Brick Wall Kitchen.
With Brick Wall Kitchen, who's one of my clients and makes great sandwiches. If you haven't been to Brick Wall Kitchen, he's on Cypress Street across from Kirkman's, and it's him and his, I think, son-in-law, and they are, he has a great story. He used to do bookbinding, if you can believe it, and he went into the catering. He did, what was the name of his, the food truck, but Benny's Crepes, does everybody remember? He was in Cambridge a lot, and then they found this little storefront, and they serve really nice breakfasts and great sandwiches, and they're open, I think, for breakfast and lunch, and he'll be catering the next one. So any other last comments, or before we close? I want to thank you very, very much. Yes?
The only comment I wanted to make, having worked with a ton of small businesses, and the comment was made before, we have a lot going on, and I'm very impressed with the fact that you guys have a lot going on and you still find the time to do this stuff. I find that especially small businesses and small business owners, they're exceptionally great at their business. They're just horrible at making time for themselves as a business owner to do some of this stuff.
Well, I banked on that. That's why I have this business. So one of the reasons that I'm a social media and email marketing strategist and do this for people is that my vision is that very much like the web, or even when you did your own payroll, or you thought you could do it all. What I tell people is each and every one of you should have an hourly rate attached to your time. It's very important. It's a hard thing to think about. It's one thing if you're an employee and you're sitting here and you're getting paid for doing the work that you're doing. It's another thing when you're your own business and this is your time. And I can do it. I can do it in half the time you can do it. I can probably do it. I can go in and look at a constant contact account, and within 10 minutes I can know whether you're using it right or not. Just by the mere fact of the work that I've done. And it's sad because. The other thing that I find with a lot of small business owners is that they're stubborn and they're going to do it themselves. God damn it, if it takes them 2 days. And I'm thinking, really? When I can do really? Because if you put an hourly rate on your time and you think it's going to take you 2 days and then you can hire someone for half that, why would you do it? And that's just something that, just the way it is.
What's your background? What did you do before this business?
So I spent 25, I feel like I was in prison, that's not what I meant. I worked at Boston University for 25 years in the Office of Information Technology at BU, so I come with a technology background. When I left BU, it was, I did IT consulting, and then when the market fell out in 2008, I was at Brandeis actually, and they honored my contract for the next year, which was they didn't need to do, and they were wonderful. And while I was doing that, I decided to get certified in social media, and I did a bunch of different certifications. And then along the way, I wound up getting certified in constant contact, and I'm also a Duda, which a Duda One. Anybody know what Duda One is? Go look it up. It's a really cool web application out of Israel. I don't know if you know it, but Israel is the next Palo Alto in terms of technology. It's got the coolest software that I've known. And what that does is it's a responsive ready platform that allows you to build websites. So between the website work I do, the constant contact, and the social media, I kind of help people figure out how they want to brand themselves and then how they go out and do it. That's kind of what I do. That's me in a nutshell. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you guys in the back, behind the curtain. I appreciate it.